Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Connecting Life podcast, and I'm your host, Diana Boskma. I'm here to help you connect the dots of life so that you can live your best life in a healthy and fulfilling way. Today, I'm talking with Denise Ankersen. She's a really good friend of mine. She's a mother, she's a birth worker, and an amazing human being. Would you please tell us a little bit more about yourself, Denise?
Good morning from New York City. I'm so excited to be here with you. We've had so many amazing chats where we didn't think to press record. I'm really flattered that you invited me to join the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Anytime, honestly, it's always cool to talk. So Denise and I will talk today about women's choices in birth, because in some countries there's lots of choices, in other countries not so much. And as she's lived in many different countries on this globe, she's seen a lot of things, possibilities and impossibilities. Now, as many of you know, but not everybody knows, I'm Dutch. So my birth world was home births. I was born at home, my brother was born at home, my mother was born at home, my father was born at home, my grandmother was the lay midwife of the village, and hospitals were, in the time of my grandmother's, not even an option. That was only when things went really, really bad, and usually women wouldn't make it then, nor the baby. And so things have changed a lot, because these days hospital births are pretty common in Holland as well. But when I was born and my parents were born, it wasn't. How's that been in your world, Denise?
So in my actual reality, my mother was born at home and my father was the first in his family to be born in hospital. So his
Oh,
older brother and sister were born in rural Manitoba, in a tiny place called Rivers.
yeah.
And the midwife was literally what you would expect, a neighbor who
Mm-hmm.
knew how
Yep.
babies were born.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then my dad, um, I don't even know what made his mother make the decision, but she decided that, it was the latest, greatest thing to have your baby in the hospital. So 1944, they went all the way from Rivers, Manitoba into Brandon, which is about an hour and a half drive, in order to have a baby.
An hour and a half with contractions in a car.
With your third.
Now, to be fair, I do precipitous births, so mine are fast and furious. I cannot imagine anyone volunteering to go into a car with contractions, because I wouldn't know how to do it. That's just, I don't know. I can't imagine that being okay to do, that you wouldn't go completely insane. But then, one of my babies was start to finish 20 minutes, and that felt like one massive contraction until she was out. So that may not help with my perception on it. I have that perception of how all four of mine were born. And I loved it. That's not it. I wouldn't do it any other way. But yeah, I wouldn't go in a car. That's just not going to happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you're one of the first people I met. And I'm going to
Mhm.
say we met in Switzerland, which was really fun because I'm Canadian. I think I just kind of let that slip when I said my dad was born in rural Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is Scottish, and you and I met in Switzerland where we were both homeschooling our family.
Yeah.
And you were the first person I met who birthed autonomously. It just hadn't really,
Wow.
hadn't really been on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
I knew people who had a midwife and planned their home birth, and baby
Mm-hmm.
arrived for the midwife. So similar experience, but not planned that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an eye-opening experience because, full disclosure, when I was expecting my first, I was so indoctrinated and a part of the system. My
Mm.
mom was an emergency room nurse. She was born at home, but hadn't even contemplated that as an option for herself. Like, she just checked herself in, went to every single antenatal appointment, did exactly as the doctor asked, arrived at the hospital, had every internal exam,
Yeah.
opted for a pudendal block because
Sad.
some antiquated way of taking away any discomfort.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 So the precursor of the epidural, maybe?
I guess so, but I believe the injection goes right into your perineum.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that sounds horrible. But it's quite funny. Whenever I hear
We
things
definitely
about,
agree on that. Yeah.
yeah, whenever I hear things about making birth easier, it always sounds horrific to me because it doesn't feel easier. I always have this thing, no, 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 don't touch me. That's
Right.
always been my thing.
Yeah.
Don't touch me. Let me
I'm
just do this.
definitely far closer to a don't touch me, but
Yeah.
anyway, back to 1997 when I was expecting my first.
Yeah.
I mean, I did precisely what my mother did. I
Mm.
went to the first thing I did was pee on a stick. And then I
Mm.
went to the doctor, and the doctor needed to confirm that I was pregnant. So
Okay.
I had to pee on another stick in
Mm.
order to gain entry to those monthly appointments that I just.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I was pregnant with my first, she was born in 1994. I did go see a midwife, but you don't go see them in Holland until you're 3 months pregnant. Just, you pee on a stick when you're overdue, when you're late for your period, and then you have to say, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and then you phone and you don't get even booked in until you're 3 months pregnant. Just doesn't happen. Well, back then it was. Don't know how it is now because it's probably changed a bit since then because we're talking 30 years ago now. But yeah, it was 3 months, and then you could see, and then it was initially once a month that you could go, and then it would be just checking for, you had to bring urine in every now and then for diabetes and iron check, and then checking whether the baby was growing well. And I have all these records. That was quite cool, actually. It was nothing invasive. It was just a bit of palpitating on the outside, a bit of blood once in a while. Only when I was telling them I was really tired, then that would be, let's check that. So there was not a lot of, nothing much happening. It was more about having a conversation, and it was a nice office. She had lots of cute stuff there, lots of cute baby things and magazines. So it was nothing very heavy or invasive. And then I got offered, because that was just an offer at the time, an ultrasound. And because they would only do one, no more than that, just one, and that would be to see whether my dates were in accordance with what the ultrasound would show. And there was no more ultrasound, just one. And that was like, near 20 weeks, not before then. It was actually taking its time. There was no rush. The hospital was, I had to go to the hospital for that, but I couldn't get there right away at 3 months or anything. Like now, I think you get it much earlier. Even you get the first, I don't know how quickly, but many people I've talked about, they've had like monthly ultrasounds where they say, oh, okay, people do that these days. And with my youngest two, I actually opted out of ultrasounds. I'd read a lot about it and had to say, you know what, it doesn't bring anything. If they can't feel it on the outside, then they're not worth their label of midwife. You have to be able to feel it on the outside. That's something you should have been taught. But that was my opinion, which was not always the kindest. But I had to say, nah, don't want to do that. Because the drive to the hospital is just a trek, and when everything feels fine, why would I do that? So I didn't feel like doing that. So I didn't.
Interesting. My care provider with my first was a GP in a really small community in northern Alberta. And he was so used to working with the, I believe, Hutterite community. Mixing up Mennonite and Hutterite now, but I'm pretty sure in that part of Alberta it's Hutterite.
Either or, they're
so
pretty
used to
similar.
working with the Hutterite community that he genuinely believed in birth. So nobody at the birth center was fond of him because he wasn't constantly constantly monitoring or needing to put his fingers in my body, and they weren't especially comfortable with that. All that to say, he didn't do routine ultrasound.
Fair enough. There's no need for ultrasound.
Yeah. So with my eldest, I did go for an emergency ultrasound at 18 weeks because he was not able to find a fetal heart rate.
Oh.
And strangely, I feel like I probably could have said no because I didn't have any sort of concern. Like I didn't share his concern. It just felt like everything was fine.
Yeah.
And given my later obstetrical history, I've had several late losses. It's interesting that it was yeah, with my eldest that it couldn't be found, and then I didn't feel any worry. So it was the beginning of me listening to that internal voice. Yeah. Sometimes it's safe to actually listen to what your body's telling you rather than needing that external validation.
I think for women who are a bit in touch with themselves, that starts to grow when they're pregnant, because there's so much more to listen to, so much more to feel. And then it really becomes a much bigger thing, as in, I know I'm well, or I know I'm not well. And one of the things that I always feel is that everybody should listen to mother's instinct. Every doctor should listen. When a mother says something's wrong, there's something wrong. Because usually when they don't listen, it becomes more wrong. And it's just, no, I'm a big listening to mother.
It's interesting because we live in a society that's told us not to trust our instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. That trusting your instinct is somehow anti-science.
Well, and science cannot figure it all out, so.
Yeah. So with my second, I didn't have an ultrasound until the very end, when all of a sudden I'm overdue, whatever that means. And my first had been so tiny that like this worry started to creep in again in my care provider's mind. Maybe we should just check and make sure that everything's okay here. So I didn't know very much about the harms or potential harms of ultrasound. So I went along with it thinking, okay, that's fine. Yeah. Everything was fine. And I was encouraged, let's say heavily encouraged to come in as soon as my water's released. So stayed home and had a meal with my parents and went in, and just a few hours later she was born with a really lovely midwife, had my care provider there. It was it was pretty blissful, except I would love to have not left home.
Why didn't it?
My third, I opted for that amazing home birth with an independent midwife in the UK. But even then, when I look back, I still thought it wasn't really possible to have a baby without having an internal exam. Like I somehow wanted permission. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I know that there's no need for an internal exam, because independent midwives in the UK, the ones that I know, they look for a line that starts to grow and look for mother's behavior, because the moment mother goes into transition, you can see that things change. And then it's time, because the body will push by itself. You don't even have to do anything. It will just happen. And I've experienced that.
Midwife I had.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, with my second, the midwife didn't make it in time. With my third, the midwife didn't make it in time. And with the fourth, there was no midwife either. So it's this thing of, I just trusted the process because I knew it was going to happen. There was no way in stopping it. The second one was 45 minutes, so there was no way in stopping that process. The third one was 20 minutes, and the last one, she was sunny side up. So yeah, that was then 1.5 hours, but still, that's pretty quick. So yeah, no way in leaving the house, and also no way, there was just no chance of even thinking about anything else. It was just happening, and it was happening right there and then. So just roll with it. That was about it. That's all I could do. And the midwives were always really baffled. With my second, it was even that way, that I had moved at that point. And then the midwife said, as soon as you ring, I will come, but I'm not sure I'll make it, considering the last one was 45 minutes. I live 15 minutes away, which was, from getting into the car to my house was 15 minutes for her. So she had this thing of, I don't think we'll make it, but you'll be fine because you've done it before. It'll all be good. When it goes that fast, nothing can go wrong. And I decided, I'm not worried about it. I'm cool. And the community I lived in at the time was a very religious community. And the midwives were used to women not going for checkups, just ringing when the time of birth had arrived, because they were having 10, 15 children, and they would do it naturally. They wouldn't even think about that. And that was a very, very religious environment. So the whole town, it was half religious, half not, but the people that were very religious, I lived in that neighborhood, there was just nothing really that they were, worried about. So I had the same midwives as the ladies in in my community because I was living near that church. So I was basically part of it despite not being that religious. So they were really cool with whatever would happen. And when the phone, it was really my partner, he phoned. He didn't even have to say anything because she saw my number and she had this thing on my way and hung up because she heard the baby already, so it was too late anyway.
Oh, I love it.
She was fascinated by it, and then she just checked that everything was okay. Placenta came out okay, no tears or anything. She had this thing, we're good to go. So yeah, and what is really a beautiful thing from Holland is that you get a nurse for 7 days to come to your house to help you with, just relaxing, getting breastfeeding going, chilling out with your baby. They take care of the food, they take care of your medical needs, whatever they might be. They take care of older kids. It's like a postpartum doula, but then somewhat different because they're actually schooled in it, so they have had that medical education, and that's definitely a blessing to have them around. Really, really nice. Because I had my youngest in the UK, and there was no support whatsoever afterwards. There was just a midwife coming to check up, and that was it. There was nobody supporting, nothing. And I found that really rough, having a baby. And for the first 3, there was always this nurse coming to my house for 7 days, just doing support. Also nice to just debrief on the birth with someone who knows, who was there, because usually they come around. Well, in my case, they weren't always there, but just talking about it. It's just nice to just be able to talk it through in detail, figure out what went when, what happened, how it happened. It was just really, really good. And that's a shame that I think globally women should have access to something like that. But yeah, that's me.
Wow. And then strangely, the only time I had that aftercare was when I was in the UK, but because we opted for an independent midwife as opposed to the National Health Service.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
And I think it was a full 4 weeks.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So daily in the first instance, and then I think eventually every 3 days, and then it was always more than once a week. It was incredible.
Yeah. In Holland, the midwife comes over, and you have that care for the first 6 weeks after birth. But they just come over for a bit of a talk and a checkup, seeing whether everything's going smooth. Also checking the umbilical cord of the baby and all these kind of things. And the nurse, she's there. She almost, the first day, she's literally there the whole day, and then it slowly tapers off to a couple of hours a day. But it's so good to have that, just having someone there to help with cooking, help with bathing, because they literally teach you how to bathe the baby and stuff like that. Because when you have your first baby, you don't really know how to do this. So they explain a lot. They explain a lot about how to care for the umbilical cord and all these things. And
I'm going to push back and challenge you a little bit on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure that the way that we're taught in the medical model is actually...
It's not very medical, that's the thing.
Actually, yeah.
It's really, so the way I experienced it, and I've experienced 3 different ladies, and they were all more from a holistic perspective. So, and they were just standard, they were not, private or anything, just from the standard healthcare system. And it was really about, when you do this, hold on to the head. So it was literally about how to do it safely. And with my youngest, I also did bed sharing, and she was clued in on that. So she just told me about the things that, and I know she said, I thought you would, but it's good to have the conversation so that we both know that, but it was just really relaxed. There was no pressure or anything. And that was the beauty of it, that it was so chill. So not really from that medical perspective, only checking up a bit, like, body temperature. Do you not have an infection? Yeah, that's a nice thing, because when you do have a temperature, it's nice to just catch it quickly, get it sorted.
Definitely. Having gone that route with my third, definitely.
Oh, I've never had that. I've been good. So yeah, no, I can only imagine how hard that is.
Yeah, it's not fun at all.
No.
Yeah.
That's So it's temperature of the baby, temperature of the mom. Simple things. Also helping with breastfeeding. The first time, man, I had no idea. So having someone there to help me, I didn't. Don't worry, it's all okay. that was the thing. It was a lot of reassurance, a ton of reassurance. Because
That's
initially
so
I had to say, I don't have milk coming out. No, that's normal. And then explaining the whole thing about the colostrum and how that takes a bit of time. But yes, that yellow fluid is fine. You don't have an infection. It's not anything crazy. And yes, the engorgement is totally normal. That happens to most of us. So it's all good. So yeah, it was really nice to have someone there who was reassuring.
So I'm wondering, in that little village that you mentioned, where it was not uncommon for women not to have any kind of care in their pregnancy, I wonder if that's still the case there.
The last time I was in that village is a little over 10 years ago. And yes, it was still that way. I talked with a couple of people that had been my neighbors. They still did things fairly similar.
It's amazing.
They did have afterbirth care because they literally took 2 weeks to themselves. That was it. There was no way anybody was going to get them out of bed. And 2 weeks is short.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's, universally used to be 40 days, right?
Yes. And I think that's still necessary. We haven't evolved from 40 days to 14 days.
No. Yeah. But I knew none of that. Like, even when I was expecting my third, no, absolutely not. I was at Costco minutes after our second was born. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot.
With great praise, right? Everyone was just amazed. Oh, look at you, super mom.
Yes.
Look at you neglecting your health and not really caring for your baby.
The only time I left too soon, and the nurse was not happy with that, was with my first, and that was payback time quite quickly after that. And then with the third, it was after 6 days, and that was only because my second one was doing a swimming exam, and I really didn't want to miss it. So it was with baby in the sling, and I literally went from the car to the seat, and I did nothing. I was just in the room, and that was already a lot. And the nurse was at that point also having this thing of, are you sure you want to do this? Because they really make you aware of how important it is to rest. Because you've just run a marathon, you need to recover.
Yeah.
Well,
it makes such a difference in that,
yeah,
in that connection that you have with your baby.
It does.
Becoming this brand new family.
Oh yeah, everything changes.
With every baby. You're a whole new mother, and now you have siblings, and it's all very different.
Yep.
I really only had that with my third, and it was like partly imposed by the midwives, but I was just perfectly positioned to make it possible. I had help from other family members, and my husband was working full time. He was willing to take the older two to nursery school, so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's one of those things that the nurses in Holland do as well. They take your kids to school. They do all these things. They take over mom's job, basically. So they take your kids to school, they cook for you, they do all these things.
You mentioned that it's probably Doula. That's amazing.
Yeah. It really makes such a difference on your recovery speed and how fit you feel after that first week. And I know it's just a week, but that week makes the world of difference. Because the one time I didn't have that, it took so much longer for me to feel better again. Because life just went on. I only had a baby. It wasn't like it was a big deal. Well, yes, it was, but it just didn't feel like it was. It felt like it was glossed over at that point, which was, surprisingly difficult in the end.
I was at the top of the Empire State Building on day 5 with my fourth.
Oh, wow.
This hockey game, riding the subway. And embarrassingly, I had both of my parents there to help me. So I'm not sure how I came full circle from that lovely, restful.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah. These days
not ideal, and I wouldn't encourage it, but
No, I literally talk to women, and I have this thing of, you know what? Take your time. There's no rush in recovery. It needs time. You need to eat healthy. You need to get your nutrients back up to scratch again. You need to do so much. it's not just the physical recovery, it's also the emotional adjustment and all these things, because life changes massively again with each new baby, no matter how many you've had. My grandmother always said that, and she had in total 9 babies. She had this thing, it changes every time again, because the whole dynamic in the family changes, because there's a
Yeah,
new
it's an entirely different experience every time, or it was for me. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's fascinating how it all changes.
Mm-hmm.
One tiny human being changes everything.
Everything. Yeah. It changes who you are as a person.
Yep, that too. Because they are going to be a different human being. So it's yeah. When I was pregnant with my second, I couldn't even imagine it being another baby than the first one had been. It was really in my head, as in this will be the same thing. No,
Yeah. I
definitely not.
couldn't envision it either. Yeah. My first was a boy and my second was a girl, and I knew that before she was born. Just an internal knowing, not a
Hmm.
I've seen photographic evidence knowing. But yeah, I still wondered, like,
Mm,
how will I divide this love that I feel for my firstborn? And then it's
mm.
minutes after she was born, realizing it's not really. Don't divide it; it multiplies.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
And then I could tell myself that some of the differences might have been he was a boy and she was a girl, but I went
Mm.
on to have another boy and another girl, and I would say that all 4 of my babies look very different. They're all
Yes.
incredibly different human beings now that they're young
Hmm.
adults. It had absolutely nothing to do with whether they were a boy or girl.
Well, I have 4 girls, and they were all very different. They still are very different human beings, completely in their own beautiful ways, having such a different perspective on things, and just doing things in life very different from each other. And I didn't know of any before birth, because I had not had any photographic evidence, because in Holland, when the ultrasounds, they didn't do the gender things. So yeah, didn't know. And they were all girls. And every pregnancy was different as well. With my first, they actually told me, you're going to have a boy because you carry as if you have a boy. And I thought, okay, cool.
I
Nope.
love all wives' tales.
Yep. So I carried a girl like a boy. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Whatever that means.
I don't either, because I don't know. I think every pregnancy is so different that I wouldn't know. But then again, there are people who really know ahead of time what they're having. So
Mhm.
I just didn't. I was clearly not that tuned in on myself, but it just felt like a similar energy. But also, I didn't have this thing of, is this a girl? Is this a boy? I didn't really care that much. Whenever anybody would ask, I would have this healthy. What do you want? Healthy? That was my
Yeah.
answer.
Well, I used to say that too. And then I feel like even that started to disappear.
Mm,
And I mean, possibly with miscarriages and
yes.
never having a clear reason for some.
Mm,
Yeah, even as I would hear myself say, "Oh, I really don't care as long as the baby's healthy."
yeah.
I think even that started to drop away. Like whatever will be, and this is my baby. And I
Yep.
really might have only a limited amount of time, and like I
Yes.
wanted to try and enjoy the experience.
Yes. Oh, I didn't worry about it. That wasn't the thing. It was this thing of, it's happening. I'll just roll with whatever will happen. Because with my third, there was some influence on, you need to do this, you need to do that, by family members, and they were of the opinion I should go to the hospital, and I should get this done, and I should get that testing done. And I had to say, no. Yeah, but what if it's a disabled baby? Well, I'll see what happens. Yeah, but when you don't know, you can't just stay home because the risk is too big. You should be in the hospital. And I had to say, no, no. Yeah, but
Yeah,
what if the father is more comfortable with that? And then my answer to that was, well, when he has a baby, when he's going to be birthing, he can choose where he does it. As long as I'm birthing, I'm choosing where I'm doing it, because I was just not really interested in hospital. It was this thing of whatever will happen, will happen.
yeah. I think even with my first, I was young.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I must have done whatever standard testing was done, but obviously nothing that involved an ultrasound or, I mean, certainly nothing any more invasive than that. I remember going to do the gestational diabetes testing and thinking, this is really not for me. Like, why in the world am I drinking this syrupy nonsense? But I still did it. I think, to be a good girl and be obedient.
For me, that was
a doctor knows best.
Yeah, for me, that suggestion came with my second, but that was because so it started out as a twin pregnancy, and I lost one of them, but because I didn't feel good, double hormones, because the placenta was still partially intact, and that made me feel nauseous and stuff like that, and I gained more weight than they expected because that second placenta was still intact. And then they had this thing of, maybe you've got that, and it wasn't that. And then an ultrasound showed that yes, the placenta was still kind of growing, despite the baby not being there anymore. So there was something still there, but there was no reason to do anything about it because that would be way too risky. And then with the birth of that second one, that placenta came as well. And yeah, it was a bit more tricky, but other than that, it worked out, and I did not have gestational diabetes. I was fine. But yeah, that was so gross. And the others, they never even came with that idea. It was just with that pregnancy because things had been a bit different.
Yeah, my feeling is in North America, that's just a routine test.
Could be, yeah.
Where in the UK, at 20 weeks, I was asked to do an ultrasound. And I think I felt like I could have opted out, but the midwife just felt slightly more comfortable with a home birth, knowing that the placenta wasn't covering my cervix, knowing that there weren't likely to be any emergencies. So she had them check that there were 4 chambers of his heart and organs were in place.
Yeah. It's, I kind of get it to a certain extent, but I also know that it's not exactly necessary. But
I mean, I think it's interesting. If I was to do it all again, I mean, I say that I wouldn't go at all, since even in the pregnancies that ended before term, it didn't offer any comfort. I mean, I remember, walking out of a routine ultrasound and somebody asking, "Oh, you must feel so much better that, everything is exactly as it should be and your pregnancy is progressing." And strangely, I don't feel better. I mean, because in every other instance, everything was fine until it wasn't. So the only thing I know is that in that moment, everything was fine. But I think there's even part of my brain that wondered, like, what if even just this procedure has an impact on this pregnancy? How would I know? Is it really as harmless as people say?
The thing is, every person that I know that's had pregnancy loss, their last midwife visit or OBGYN, whatever you call it, the obstetrician visit, the last visit, everything was fine. So that visit, there's no guarantee.
It's fine until it isn't.
That's it. There's no guarantees that it will be fine the whole round. It just doesn't happen that way.
I mean, there's a term, miscarriage. I think it's how people word it when you find out either by ultrasound or an appointment where they can't find the fetal heart tones. So as opposed to you having like obvious signs, whether it's bleeding or cramping. But I definitely encourage women who experience that and find out by ultrasound or some other clinical method that they take the time they need to process that information, because it doesn't become an emergency just because you may.
No.
And I definitely did not know that with our first. I had that inner knowing that something had gone wrong, which is why I sought the care of a midwife and agreed to have the ultrasound. But then I felt like I was just put on this conveyor belt of like all of the choices would be made for me. When if I hadn't found out that day, I would still have been at home, comfortable, sleeping in my own bed. So
there's no real rush.
Not an emergency just because you have information. You still have time to process that and think it through.
You have choices in that too, because when I had a miscarriage, then I was hemorrhaging, and they wanted to do a D&C, and I just thought, is that really necessary? And with that, I became a difficult patient, obviously, because that was the standard procedure of doing things. And I just, but is it really necessary? And then they said, no, but it will be over quicker. Yeah, but do I want that? So I then opted to just let nature take its course, and it worked out just fine. There was no problem with it. But yeah, there was that pressure of, yeah, let's just get you in theatre, let's just get this over with. Now, what are the risks? Well, there are risks to a D&C. Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an interesting conversation, because there were like 3 or 4 times they came to try to talk me into doing a D&C, and I just said, nope, there's risks. My body can handle this itself. I'm fine. Yeah.
It's interesting they persisted anyway, even when you knew your mind.
Yeah, it's probably because that's just what they're used to, and they're probably not used to people having this thing of, do I really have to? Do I have a choice? Because that's not, most people will not even question it. It's recommended, so it's better. And then there was me wondering about the downsides and the risks and whether it was really necessary, and asking those questions. Because I ask questions, and they don't always like that. But I ask questions because I'm curious.
I feel like I didn't learn to ask questions until after my first miscarriage. And then, I felt more comfortable asking questions, because this widely held belief that if you attend all of your appointments and you do all of the right things, this pregnancy will result in a healthy baby was just...
No guarantees.
It was not true.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, there are no guarantees in life, with anything.
No, in any aspect of life, there are no guarantees. But I definitely didn't understand that until I experienced it myself.
Yeah, I get that. So we've been talking for quite a bit. Do you have any words of wisdom, last words of wisdom, that you'd like to share with the people watching?
I feel like we didn't even really touch on the topic that I wanted to touch on.
Then we'll have to do it again.
I love that. I love that. It's so beautiful that it's organic. And I guess my words of wisdom are to trust that inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important to understand than understand.
It is.
And just tune out all of the noise. No matter what's happening, you can always wait. It's very rare that it's a genuine emergency that requires an immediate decision or action. So just take time.
It's true, because when I was hemorrhaging with a miscarriage, I was taken with the ambulance to hospital and ended up waiting for a good hour there for someone to attend to me. Despite hemorrhaging, it was still not an emergency, because it wasn't going completely crazy. I did kind of faint and stuff like that, so it was kind of more of an emergency than...
It was an emergency.
But you still have to wait your turn in some sort of way, because some people are more important at that point because they are a bigger emergency. And I'm still here, so it was fine. Yeah, there are not many real heavy emergencies in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I want to thank you for this
conversation. Thank you.
Because I really enjoyed it. It was really fun, and we should do it again, because there's
very lovely. We definitely have to do it
again. Birth, yes.
Yeah. Now that we've talked about choices that we made, we can talk about like the choices that are being eliminated.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that's a big topic. Yeah, we have to do it again at some point soon.
I would love that.
All right. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.